parents got divorced when I was about 3 years old, and I bounced around from hotels to apartments to my mom's house to my dad's house. And my mom met this guy, they call him Big Doug. And I was about 7 years old, and I guess that was the first time I seen that my mom was lost in alcohol consumed. And going through that, I've seen that he'd physically abuse her, beat her up, and I'd run down the stairs and try to fight him. I was trying to protect my mom, and the cops got called several times, and she finally decided that she was done with that, and she wanted to leave. She was going to move to Texas and go to rehab. And I moved in with my dad, and I noticed that he had the same addiction that my mom did with alcohol. He was just better at hiding it. He went to work, took care of things, but until he got overwhelmed, and then he'd get lost for 4 or 5 days. And while my mom was in rehab, she met this guy, and they graduated rehab together, and they got out, and my mom was sober, and they were doing good, and she wanted me to move back to Texas, so I did. We moved to Mount Vernon, and we were like a family. I had doing family home, doing family things, until the alcohol came back. And they started drinking, I was running around, getting away from the house, doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. And my stepdad they got married, and my stepdad got a job offer near Dallas, and we moved to Wiley. I was in 5th grade at the time, and I ran around this trailer park that we lived in, getting into everything that I could get into. I started stealing, I was trying alcohol, smoking cigarettes, doing things, and I went to my dad's that summer to visit, and I found out that I had failed 5th grade, and I was so embarrassed I didn't want to go back to school. I begged my mom for us to move so I didn't have to go back to school, and at the same time, my stepdad got a DWI. It was like his 4th one, and he got sentenced to 5 years in prison. So we moved back from Dallas, back close to my grandma's in Mount Pleasant, and we got this little tiny apartment, and my mom was just drinking, and I started stealing her alcohol. Started hanging out with friends, smoking weed, doing different things, and did that for about 3 years. I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have someone telling me no. And about the end of my 8th grade year, my stepdad got out of prison, and we moved again. He had his head on straight. He was gonna get us out of the gutter. And we moved into this 4-bedroom house, and everything was going good, except for my mom was still drinking, and he was sober, and I was the man of the house. And the peace that we had didn't last very long. And at this house, I got introduced to ecstasy, cocaine, more alcohol, more weed. So much to the point that I started figuring out the more drugs I used, the more I can manipulate my mom and to let me do whatever I want. I talked her into letting me drop out of school and start homeschool. That lasted about a month and a half. Then I told her I wasn't doing it anymore. And every summer and Christmas and stuff, I'd go and visit my dad. And this one time I went to my dad's, and he wanted to go to a friend's house, and we went there, and we're drinking beer, and pulls out this big bag, and I did cocaine with my dad. It was crazy. And before I left, we wanted to get into a fight, and I beat him up pretty bad. And I come back to Texas, and we wound up moving out of that house, me and my mom and my stepdad, and we moved into this trailer over by my grandma's. And next thing I know, I got a son, Rylan, he's on the way. When I found this out, the drugs just got worse. It was the first time I always had been running away from reality, and this is the first time reality was coming back at me. And as that was going on, one day I walked into the house, and my stepdad and my mom were yelling at each other. I got in the middle of it, and This had been going for a long time, all the anger, all the pain, everything in between us. And we got into a fight, and I beat this guy up until I couldn't beat him up anymore. And the next morning, he got up and he left. He got his jacket and his stuff and he took off walking. And 2 months later, my grandma files a missing persons report, trying to be a good Christian lady and find out what happened to him. And next thing we know, the Texas Rangers, cadaver dogs, Mount Pleasant Sheriff's Department are coming and interrogating all of us, thinking that I killed my stepdad and my mom and my sister helped me cover it up. Never happened. We went 5 years and never found anything out. So I finally decided to drop the drugs, and I wanted to be a dad for Ryland. So I sobered up and I moved to Winsboro. And Ryland was born on July 16th, 2012. And I lived with his mom for almost 3 years, miserably. There wasn't one day that I didn't want to be there, except for with Ryland. That's the only reason why I did it. And we finally split up, and I went to my dad's again to visit, and we wound up going to Baltimore to watch an Orioles game. And here comes the alcohol again, and the anger. We got into a fight, and I beat him up. I left him on the ground in the middle of the train station, and I managed to stumble back to the airport. I got on my plane, I come back to Texas, and I go to my apartment, only to put the key in the door and it won't open. And I found out that everything in my apartment had been emptied out. I was late on rent and I was gone for almost 2 weeks, and they thought I abandoned it. So everything I owned was gone. I come to Mount Pleasant with just a backpack with the clothes that I went to Baltimore with. That's all that I owned at this point. And I walked into a gas station and I ran into a friend, and they're like, "Hey man, let's go back to my hotel room." And I did. And I smoked methamphetamines for the first time. I got lost in this drug. My mind just wasn't there. I forgot about him, my son. I forgot about my family. I started stealing, robbing, stealing from my family. I got arrested and went to jail for possessing a controlled substance. And the day I got out, I went back to the same hotel and got back on the same page. But in the mix of all that craziness, I met Ashley. And towards the end of our addiction, we used to lay down and she would read me the Bible every day. And I can't tell you what I remember from the words that were said, but I remember always telling her that one day I'm just gonna wake up and I'm not gonna do this no more. And God came through.
Yeah.
In February of 2016, I rolled over and looked at Ashley and I said, "I'm done." I gave her all the stuff that we had, told her to get rid of it. We moved back to my grandmother's house. And she got pregnant with Dallas. Got a good job, was doing fairly decent. We moved out on our own. Dallas was born October 30th, my mom's birthday. 2 months later, my mom passed away from alcohol on Christmas Eve. I remember like it was yesterday, it's vivid. I was sitting on the couch Christmas Eve and my grandma wakes me up and told me my mom's not breathing anymore. And I took off running across the pasture where she was staying at, and she was stuck in between the dresser and the bed, with her face down on the carpet, suffocating, because she was so drunk. And I flipped over the bed, and I flipped over the dresser, and I rolled her over. I started trying to give her CPR, but it was too late. My sister was screaming at the top of her lungs. My grandma came in there and threw her hands up and was speaking in tongues. This caused me just to drink more and more. And I didn't let it sit. I just drank it away. We wound up losing the house and moved back out to my grandma's house. to my dad. You remember that guy? My dad called him and was like, hey, I'm gonna move to Texas and let's get a house together. What a great idea. So we moved into the house in Omaha where I'm living now. And it's going good. We were functional drinkers. We had money, we had fun, we had beer. It was all good. And it got to the point where we started fighting over everything. Me and him fighting to the point I was getting ready to hit him again, and I said I'd never do it. And then him and Ashley got into a fist fight. And I think that was the time that me and Ashley decided this is too much. The kids started to see it. I remember sitting on the couch after we decided we needed to quit drinking, and my dad didn't want to do that. It just made him want to drink more because he was being told he can't. And we were sitting on the couch, and my dad walks in the front door, and he's stumbling, leaning over, and Ron's talking to him. He can't even reply. This was it. My dad had to go. I didn't care what it took. I had the police called and had him taken out because he didn't want to leave. I was just going to leave him out with nothing, and I decided God came over me and told me I needed to help him. That's the only way I could think of it. So my sister found this place called The Ranch. And me and my dad went out there and met Rich, and my dad didn't want nothing to do with him. He just wanted to talk a big game. He moved back to Florida. He stayed sober for maybe a month, went back to drinking. January 1st of this year, I got custody for my son. He lives with me now. And right after that, me and Ashley got married in March. And everything was going good. We were drinking, but it was just going good. Then my sister asked me to come to church, and we made up excuses. We're not going to go, too busy, we got something else to do. She kept asking and asking and asking, and finally we decided to go. And we came and we sat right over there. And then we came again and sat right over there. And then we came again and sat right over there. And I was just watching and observing, and I realized we were missing something. Everything was going good, but we were missing something. I realized that I got tired of waking up every morning, going to work, coming home and drinking until I fell asleep. I mean, I should talked about it. Maybe I should enroll myself in the ranch program. So I went out to Rich's, to the ranch, and I met with him and I got saved on June 1st.
Amen.
The very next day I got baptized. And I started going to all the meetings. Every Bible study I could get into, reading every time I got a chance. God was working in me. He was working. But I had something behind my back. I continued to smoke weed after I got saved. And we listened to some old guy preach a story about new wine and old skin. Y'all remember that? I got convicted that night and I repented, and I got baptized again. I put it down. Then I found out my grandfather was passing away about a couple months ago, and I went down there to visit him, and I was able to speak all these good words that have been happening in my life through the ranch and everything, and me and my dad forgave each other. Mm-hmm. And we built a new relationship built on all hate and forgiveness and love. We built a brand new relationship. God gave me the opportunity to do that while my grandfather was passing away. I wish it didn't take that long, but it did. God gave me that. And in September, I went to this men's retreat. I gave a testimony over before. And God gave me a glimpse of what my purpose is, what I'm supposed to be doing right now. He showed me I was consumed by the spirit of business through all these meetings, through all these Bible studies, through all this stuff that I was doing with my dad, through everything. I took the most important person to me and put her on a back burner. At that men's retreat, I fell in love with Jesus. He showed me how to love. Yeah. I came back to the house. I got down on my knees and I asked Ashley to forgive me. She didn't know what I was talking about. I just realized I did it. And I started seeing God work in Rowland and in Dallas, singing worship songs, talking about God all the time. We got Rowland's teacher, we had a meeting with her, and she said that he's the only kid in their class that talks or writes about God.
Amen.
God revealed to me that I'm breaking chains in my family.
Amen.
God rocked Ashley. That's a testimony in itself. And God healed her from things that she didn't even know she needed to be healed from. It was like a rag, wrenching it out. Now I feel like He's renewing my mind. He fixed my heart. Took all that hardness away. And He's fixing my mind. And it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago when I decided to throw cigarettes out the window that I started to see this. Before I felt what freedom was like, but now I'm understanding it. The more we give, the more He gives. Mm-hmm. It's a two-way street. We're going to get it regardless, but we're going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. So today, I'm standing up here in front of y'all with the authority in Jesus, knowing that I'm made in His image, and I'm here to plant seeds and grow fruit. Mm-hmm. I'm here to make disciples before I go to be with Him. Mm-hmm. This is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. This old Raider fan, where's he at? There he is. This old Raider fan told me once, there's one thing that they can never do, and it's argue with your testimony. Mm-hmm. It's yours.
Yes. Amen.